Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So every now and again, my inbox explodes with people making the same request, and that was the case here, because everybody sent me this video from the AMAs, and it's the 50th anniversary celebration, and it's Mariah Carey singing, or people asking me if she's lip syncing in the performance. And it's going to be interesting tonight, because when you're talking about a singer like Mariah, she can do it live. Obviously, she wouldn't be where she was if she didn't have an amazing voice. So when you're trying to look into things to see if she was miming or not, the fact that she can do it live means it takes a little bit more investigation in order to come to a definite conclusion, of which I have. So we will jump into it and see what we can see. So what we're going to be doing is looking at a live performance from 2013, a live performance from 2018, and the performance from earlier this year, 2024. And, I mean, first of all, I'm just going to let this play on a little bit.
Don't, baby, don't, baby, don't let
We
it
belong
go.
together.
No, baby, no, baby, no, baby, no, don't.
So, initially, you will hear that everything is all over the place. And we've got, in one performance, the keys doing a different intro, and Mariah's saying, you know, something different pretty much in every one of these performances. And by the way, the AMAs from this year is on the left, the 2018 performance is in the middle, the 2013 performance is on the right-hand side. And I'm going to let all of these vocals play at the same time.
I didn't mean it when I said I didn't love you so. I should have held on tight, I never should have let you go. I didn't know nothing, I was stupid, I was foolish, I was lying to myself, baby.
So, I mean, you'll hear these tiny variations as well with Mariah's voice. And again, when somebody is singing live, and I say this in all of my videos, it's impossible to sing the same thing twice, you know, to sing over your vocal lines. And this is why it sounds like three separate vocals, because it is. What we have to look out for, and remember the question, was she miming at the AMAs? I'm seeing this more and more on YouTube, where channels and award shows are now not saying a live performance or live singing, they just say a performance. So Mariah Carey performs, and that's all they're saying. So they're not saying it's a live performance, so they're now cutting the live part out of it. But of course, everyone's assuming that this is live, because everyone's asking me to analyze it to say, was it a live vocal or not? But not even the video itself says live anywhere. So this is something that you'll have to look out for in the future. Whenever you're watching a video on YouTube, if they don't say live, it most likely means there's a reason for that it wasn't a live vocal, and they don't want to be caught out by putting live either in the description or the title of the video. So the first point I have to make is we do not have a reference file or audio file to compare this with, because none of these match up. First of all, you can hear it, but if I were to grab any of these, you know, graphs and drag them over the top of each other, you can just see by, you know, looking at it, look, we've got this wobble down here. Where's that on this chart? It's nowhere. Where is it on this chart? It's nowhere. And same thing here. This point, where is it here? It's not. Where is it here? It's not. So nothing is going to overlap. Now, the only thing that we do have is this E4 hitting this line and this E4 hitting this line. Now, this is where we say, and, you know, this one was a little bit below the line, a little bit flat. But this is where we say Mariah Carey has the ability to do this in a live situation. So we've got this on the left and we've got this on the right. So we've got a little bit of information there that we can draw a parallel to think, well, she's done that live twice. So let's listen on.
I couldn't have fathomed I would ever be without your love. Never imagined I'd be sitting here beside myself. Cause I didn't know you, cause I didn't know me, but if I knew everything I know.
Now at this point, again, we're going to be focusing on these lines. Over on the left-hand side, this is the AMAs that we're looking at. We can see she's directly over this C4. The D4, she's directly over this D4. And over here, she's directly over this D4. And she hit a line earlier, the AMAs. So, I mean, here we're slightly kind of below the line. And she's kind of over the line here. And over the line pretty much here. So, we can say that she's got the ability to do this. But already, I'm thinking from the AMAs, when you start to see this kind of thing of being so over the line, it starts to raise a suspicion or two, but let's listen on. Ooh, she did a little run there, directly over the line here, and perfectly ended on the G4. Here, a little bit below the line. Here, came down below the line. Here, below the line. Here, above the line. So I'd say that this one on the left-hand side, I'm starting to put a little bit more attention on where these notes are. Perfectly over the line here. That's another one. Just perfectly over the line here as well. I'm quickly looking at the other two to see if we're getting anything that's maybe here, anything that's just over the line. And here we go. So we're over the line here, 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 we're over the line here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. We weren't over the line here, weren't over the line here, didn't reach the line, weren't over the line here, weren't over the line here, sharp, flat, below the line, over the line, and then maybe over the line. So 2 here. So anyway, what I'm saying is that this AMA's performance from a pitch perspective is now starting to get way in the lead of hitting lines. Now, the great thing about great singers is they're not going to conform to these lines because they have expression in their voice. They will be over these lines now and again because of their vocal accuracy as a great singer, but their expression means that they don't always land on these lines. So great singers can hit a line, 2, 3 times in a row, but when you're talking about maybe 5 or 6, that then starts to speak of pitch correction. So already at this point, we're only 1 minute and 25 seconds in, but this AMA's performance is seemingly a lot more relevant, i.e. calibrated to these lines on the left. Let's continue.
A part of me, and it is still so hard to believe. Come back, baby, please, 'cause you belong.
And I mean, down here she looks pretty much over the line, here a little bit below, but this C4 absolutely bang on again. And again, really accurate here, but you can say that about 2013 as well. Here, a little bit sharp, and then went below the line. So I've taken out the instrumentation so we can hear Mariah's voice a little bit more clearly, but also so you can hear what 3 separate vocals sound like when they are genuinely different.
Who's gonna talk to me on the phone when the sun comes up? Who's gonna take your place there?
And again, over the line here, we're directly over the line here. Over the line here, and we actually touch the line here. We come down and touch the line here. So we're now getting little touches on lines that happen in a split second. So I'm looking over here. I mean, maybe over the line here, but not really. And then maybe once here. I'm trying to see. I mean, that's potentially a little touch on the line there. And maybe a little touch on the line. So this is the point that because Mariah has such a great voice, that she can do it live over multiple performances, but I'm still seeing more calibration for this kind of thing where it's just so over the line, it's happening more consistently.
Ain't nobody better, oh, baby.
And even there, we got stuck on that line. Look at the way that this is stuck on this line. And here, we actually went a little bit sharp. And this was a little bit flat. So where this was stuck on the line, we're below the line, here, below the line. So again, this one on the left is still kind of extending its lead as to how many lines we're hitting.
We belong together.
I don't know if you saw that right at the bottom. We have, I mean, ever so slightly above the line down to the line. And here we're below the line.
Together.
And I mean, look at this little, you know, again, looking at great voices, this kind of thing can happen. Just touching that E4 with the slide. And I didn't even notice that one being stuck over the line. And again, just looks very suspicious.
When you are on my mind.
And here we go again, directly over the line, directly over the line. And we've got, yeah, a more, what I would say, natural voice going on here, slightly below and below. And whenever we do get up to the line here, you always get the contradiction with great voices where they'll be slightly off and they might be on a line, but then, you know, they'll do this kind of thing, ascend up through the note, rather than kind of touch the line here, touch and then be over the line and then be over the line. There's always some kind of reset.
We belong together. I can't sleep at night. You are on my mind.
Oh, and there you go. So, I mean, that was really obvious to me, that manipulated sound. So when it sounds like that, I'm just going to let you listen to that, because maybe you'll be able to hear this mechanical sound, the processing sound.
You are on my mind.
So here, this C4 would not have been over this line. This has been quite heavily processed, and Mariah definitely wouldn't have been far away from the note. You know, she might have been like we have here. Look at this. On the studio release, look at how she's not over that C4. So she naturally sings this, you know, with expression and just ascends to the D4. But that expression here, what's happened is they're squashing these lines to get it over the C4. And that's why it sounds weird, because the processor is having to work really hard to squash all of that variation down to one single note. Have a listen again.
You are on my mind.
I mean, that whole section, yeah, is very heavily manipulated. Let's listen on.
Turn it down, trying to catch a break.
Hey, here we go. Great example. G4 directly over the line, G4 directly over the line. And here, just a little bit flatter the G4, a little bit flatter the G4. So I think this is something that Mariah, and this won't sound bad, and it doesn't sound bad, just something that she naturally does on this G4, because she did it, well, she did it at these other two performances, but then at this AMA's is perfectly over the line twice. I think she naturally sings there. But this is the point at which I say that I think this is pitch corrected on the left-hand side. It's the only way to explain why it is so far ahead of hitting the lines than the other two performances. And when you look at this kind of thing, you know, and again, we've hit what, 1, 2, we actually touched there, 3, really close here, but I won't count it, but then 4, 5. So we're starting to now get, 3, 4, 5 lines in a row. Let's listen on.
And then I hear baby face. I only think.
Here we go again. Touched it up here, the A4, and then again, we didn't really get it here, but you can see she's slightly below the G4. Again, that might be a natural tendency for her to sing there. And then look at this E4, absolutely bang on that line. And yeah, we're below the line there.
I call you, and it's breaking my heart. I'm trying to keep it together.
And the equivalent of that straight line, or straight holding of pitch over the line, is this kind of thing, where it's actually between notes. So I think that's the kind of thing that has been edited and moved to the line that the producer has thought it should go to.
But I'm falling apart, I'm feeling all out of my element.
Yeah, here we go again. Really good example here, directly over the line, holding a note. Here was below the line again, below the line here. So, and even here, over the line, here, between lines. So, we're starting to see, and this one ever so slightly below, this one directly over. So, anyway, I mean, I can keep on running this through, but this is enough for me, given all of the analysis videos that I've done, to say that, right, the AMA's performance is pitch corrected. that's the only explanation for this one lead vocal and live vocal being so calibrated to A440 standard pitch, equal temperament, because vocal cords don't work that way, and you can see that they don't work that way with Mariah's voice because of the natural variation she has in her voice, how she will just have this tendency to be between notes sometimes, but that's where the interesting stuff happens. That's where expression happens between these lines. So, yeah, on this left-hand side, and I can just kind of scroll through, and you'll start to see even more, here below the line, and look at the freedom to move here below the line, freedom to move here over the line, maybe going up a little bit, but then we go back down to over the line. And as I keep on going through this, here we go, over the line here. And I mean, here we go up and over the line, and maybe here, but again, we ascend through the line. But it's this kind of squashing down of the signal, which is something that happens in Melodyne, squashing down the signal and putting it over the line that just always looks a little bit dodgy. So, yeah, and again, look, we're still perfectly over that line here, a little bit below, and here, again, pretty much over, but it doesn't have that same flat, squashed look as this one over here. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through, but yeah, again, here we go, perfectly over the line, and kind of between notes here, and we actually go from on the line all the way down. But again, we're looking at a great vocal, but a great voice, somebody with great vocal ability. But the difference is that a producer has got a hold of this. So anyway, back to the point of this video. Was Mariah miming at the AMAs? And yes, she was. That's the answer. It was lip synced. It was mimed. And the reason that we know that is not because we have an original audio file that she's lip syncing to, and she's done that before, therefore her voice goes over her vocal lines, which is impossible. The reason we know that this is lip synced or mimed is because it is pitch corrected. This is not auto-tuned, because first of all, we'd hear the processing. It would sound really dodgy. Second of all, I don't think Mariah would use auto-tune live because it would go against everything that she stands for as a singer. But then lastly, she would not risk it malfunctioning, because we know that can happen. And that would be a very real possibility with her vibrato, for it to think that she's trying to go for another note and snapping it to the wrong note. And that kind of thing happening on a very watched TV show or award show is bad news, so she wouldn't risk that. So we know that this is pitch corrected, and pitch correction, such as Melodyne, is carried out in the studio, which means it's pre-recorded in order for this to happen to the vocal, for it to be calibrated to these lines. So the reason that we can tell so obviously that it is pitch corrected is because the producer is looking at these lines when they are pitch correcting the voice, and they are dragging them to the lines. So this is why they're always over the lines, because it's not the singer deciding that, oh no, I wanted that to be flat because that's where I was singing the note, that's where I felt it. That's now all done away with, and it's now the producer's hand that we're looking at here dragging this voice all over the place. But as I kind of move forward, you'll see again, classic case here, kind of perfectly over this line. And I mean, even here, kind of slightly below the line, here we were kind of over the line, we went down and we went up, and then look at that. Absolutely as stuck to that line as you can get. And just as a final point, we'll listen to the final note.
Together.
And now here, it's actually plotted it an octave higher in the middle, but you can see that we're just below what it's saying is a C6, but it's actually a C5, so it'll be just below this line. Over here, the C5 is now ever so slightly below the line. And these two are, live performances from 2018, 2013. And it might be the case that Mariah's voice naturally just sits a little bit flat of this C5 because of her unique voice and her vocal technique and just her personality, that it just goes there. But in the live performance from 2024, the AMAs is just so over that line, you can't get more over that line. And again, because of everything that's happened previously in this performance, you've got to think, well, did she actually hit that? I mean, she could have hit that line and held it and maintained her pitch there. But given everything that's happened before that, you think, well, is this somebody grabbing her voice because it wasn't on the line and just making it on the line? So this is the problem when you start pitch correcting great voices. When it is over the line, you think, well, is that just somebody dragging the voice over the line, especially when it's happened so many times in the performance previously? And yeah, it absolutely has. And I think this is just another case of maybe doing a little bit too much. But it seems like on held notes, this is the industry standard now, to literally put it right over that line and not let it be anywhere else. So yeah, it is a huge shame. Anyway, thank you all for requesting this particular video for tonight. I hope you have enjoyed it. As always, keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!